Hello, Step into Love community. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's topic is calling in clarity, and I am joined by my lovely guest, Miss Carol Look. Carol Look is a traditional psychotherapist. She's a founding EFT master, a world-renowned EFT workshop presenter, and the best-selling author of The Yes Code. And yes, thank you. This is her second book. I love it so much. She also has it in her background, so that's lovely. And Carol is known for her laser-like focus. She combines her psychotherapist training with advanced applications of EFT to help clients release their limiting beliefs and emotional conflicts so that they can enjoy their lives of exceptional success and fulfillment, which is so aligned with my publication's mission of teaching people to step into love and embodiment and live, aligned lives, taking aligned action. So I'm so glad to have you here for this conversation with me, all about clarity. Thank you so much, Carol, for being here. And I have to tell you, I love this book. I started reading it last week during Thanksgiving, and the whole theme of gratitude was just so perfect to, read during Thanksgiving. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophia. Great to be with you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to jump right into our first question because you could tell my audience more about yourself and your mission. So the question is, what is your mission and your work, and how did you come to it? And I'd love to hear too any specific like clarity points or turning points that came, along the path towards your career and the work that you're doing now.
Thank you again. So, my mission is really to help people live lives that feel aligned, but you can't do that without clarity. And if you want different results, you're going to have to change either your emotions, your beliefs, or your behavior if you want different results. So, I, of course, was always my first guinea pig. So, I was a traditional psychotherapist. I got into hypnosis. I have a doctoral degree in hypnosis. And then I discovered tapping EFT, and everything changed. I became clear. I shut down the noise. I calmed down my nervous system. I got over my anxiety, my insomnia, and everything became clear. Now, it's not always easy to make decisions, but it's really the best tool in my hands. So I help people be quiet, stop all this distracting noise and go inside and get so clear that their answers are obvious. And when your yes is obvious to you, you just move forward. You take the next step in clarity. So I've had to use it on myself. I continue to use it on myself. How do I get clear? What distracts me from being clear? What noise outside? What marketing program? What advice from somebody else gets in my way? I need to clear that, remove that, keep working on any limiting beliefs so I can keep taking my next yes step forward. So that's what I do for other people. It's what I do for myself. And it's really changed a lot in my life and my business.
I love that answer. Thank you so much. And I remember from reading your first book that you call your program the Yes Code and your EFT, um, the way you teach people and you help them is the Yes Code because you had some blocks to success and abundance that you worked through, and you were saying like you find yeses. So I would love to hear more about those, I guess just breakthrough points of when you start doing EFT and you're like, this is great for people and you've made such impact in people and you're such a wonderful practitioner of this as well. You're so generous. And I also think it'd be helpful after you explain a bit more about some of those like turning points. For people who don't know, I'm happy to do a little bit of EFT tapping on clarity because I love the tool so much. So if you would want to guide me through it for a brief session and show people what EFT is, we can do that.
Great. So, what happened that got me interested in the abundance and success work with clarity is that I added up my income 2 years in a row to give to my accountant, and it was the exact same.
Mm,
You can't do that when you have a private practice because prices go up, prices go down, people get sick, holidays fall on different days. So it meant the information was I have a block. I don't
mm.
want to, apparently didn't want to go above a certain number. And I never knew what my father made when we were growing up. So I'm not sure what the number was about. But the point is, it was obvious to me that I was blocking myself. And then I started asking people and myself these questions. What's the upside of staying stuck? And people say, oh, don't be silly. There's no upside. Well, you wouldn't be stuck if it wasn't serving you in some way. So in the Yes Code as a process, as a coaching process, I ask people to get very clear about their vision and what are their blocks, what's in their way. And the way you find that out is asking yourself, what's the upside of staying where you are? And the second question is, and what's the downside of reaching the success you want? Because everybody comes to me because they want success, they want more money, satisfaction, happiness in a relationship, peace of mind. And so I say, well, what's the downside of having it? And when they get that they're afraid of something, they're trying to keep themselves safe. So they try to keep themselves small in a narrow band. They don't want to be exposed. They don't want to be visible. Once you figure out what the answer is to those questions, either the upside of staying stuck or the downside of getting the success you keep saying you want, then you can work on it, move through it, and get clear. People
Hmm.
are always trying to work on something and they don't really know the real reason. So I was afraid of visibility. I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of success, all sorts of things, but I didn't know that. I was just doing my work and moving through my life until I bumped into this block that was so obvious. You can't argue. You can't argue the comfort zone if you make the exact same amount in a private practice. You just can't argue that. Clearly, I had a problem, right? So then I had to work on my blocks, my fear of success, my fear of standing out, my fear of being visible, and move through that. And then, of course, the success and money just change, everything changes. So the clarity, I was blocking my own clarity because I didn't even know what to ask. I wasn't intentionally being unclear. I just didn't know that there's an upside to staying where you are. It didn't occur to me. I just thought I was doing my work, right?
Yeah.
You get the clarity on those questions, then you can work on it. The EFT is the best, tapping is the best tool in my hands for clarity. And I also found out, Sophia, that many people are afraid to be clear. And when I ask the questions about that of myself and other people, why would you be afraid to be clear? And they would say, because when I'm clear, I know how successful I'm going to be. And when I'm successful, I'm going to rock the boat and somebody's not going to like it. That's the progression. And when you hear that dozens and dozens of times with clients, it's like, oh, that's a thing. That's a theme. So now I work into all my workshops this idea that we're afraid to be clear because we will be powerhouses.
Mm.
You're clear, you're in alignment, like you were talking about, aligned action. You take aligned action and you move forward. So there is a block. People are afraid of that. What does that mean? Who's it going to upset?
Oh my gosh, I love that answer. Thank you. And I'm excited to get further into the second book because the first book is so impactful. And I love that you included your upside, downside questions because they're kind of counterintuitive, but they help people recognize those blocks. And I love how you explained the brain science too, of that the brain is always, and the body and the nervous system is just trying to keep you safe. So whenever you're coming up against a block or a limiting belief or something, it's just your body trying to keep you safe in the state of normal that it already knows. And the emotional freedom technique tapping is so important because you're tapping on these acupressure points and letting your body feel safe while you're like tapping through these strong emotions. And that helps release. And you reminded me too, because we did a private session that was so helpful, releasing and clearing the negative beliefs first, then to make space and welcome in those positive changes that you want to make. And that really is where the clarity comes in. Like for me, the more and more I focus on this topic, I really see that it's never a one fit. It's not just like do this, right, go in nature, receive. It's really like you kind of do all the things that you can to receive clarity. It's releasing the negative blocks and then it's also opening to receive and it's releasing the negative blocks again if they come up and then having a good sleep and like gentle, graceful self-love, self-care and the clarity just comes when it's meant to for you and those aligned steps come when they're meant to. As long as you're yeah, taking good care of yourself and your mind and your emotional state. So I love that you guide people through that and use this very powerful tool because I agree it's been like one of the most powerful things I've ever encountered in terms of it does feel a bit like meditation, but it's this embodied action and movement as well. And you're touching the acupressure points and you're really tapped into your emotions It's so powerful. So I'd love to talk more about that. And like I said, if you want to do an example, we definitely can about receiving clarity, perhaps.
So the first couple of decades before I was around, people were using EFT tapping and they were getting well and getting better and feeling better and changing their bodies and their lives and their success. But the research wasn't out. Now,
Mm,
in the last 10 years, the research has come out, the brain science, which shows that tapping on the acupuncture points while you've opened a distressing file, something that upsets you, calms down, it sends signals to the brain and calms down your fight or flight mechanism.
mm,
So whether you're afraid of crowds or you're afraid of success or you're worried or you have sugar cravings or you're worried about going home for the holidays, whatever it is, that opens up this file, you get upset, and the tapping sends these calming signals. So the process looks very, very simple, but there's an art to it, but the process itself is simple. The point is we're combining being upset with the calming mechanism, and the two come together, and then you no longer feel distressed about whatever topic you brought up. So if we did an example, and I'm glad you brought up the safety issue around that I talked about in the first book, because that's all we're trying to do when we sabotage ourselves. It's all we're trying to do. If we keep a lid on ourselves or we're afraid to get better, feel better, do better, it's because we're afraid. That's it. We just want to be safe. Human beings are designed to be safe. And once you get that, you can stop criticizing yourself and then you can go to work on what the real problems are. So if you'll be my echo, we could do a little tapping.
mm.
So the first thing to do when we're using EFT, or now everybody's just calling it tapping, is we choose a target, a very clear target, and let's use an emotional conflict.
Mm,
In this case, let's say I'm afraid to be clear.
mm,
So now everybody's got a because. So the people listening can write down or think about their because. Why are you afraid to be clear? But we choose that as our statement. I'm afraid to be clear. And we try to measure it the best we can on a scale from 0 to 10. When you think of being really clear about your next move professionally or personally, are you a 10? Are you just middle? Are you a 5? Like, where are you on that scale when you think of being crystal clear about a decision at work or at home? And often it just takes a little questioning, and then people go, oh, I didn't realize I was afraid to be clear. I thought I was just procrastinating. Well, you were procrastinating, but it's because clarity scares you, because when you're clear, you're going to be powerful. And when you're powerful, somebody's not going to like it. So
and or accountable. Like once you're clear, you're more accountable to do it.
that's right. So would you like to be my echo and actually use that as a technique? I mean, as a topic for you, fear of being clear?
Yes,
Good.
let's do it. I think I would say I might be at a 5 on something I'm afraid of being clear about right now. Sure.
Thank you for being specific. So everybody, don't choose, I'm just afraid to be clear in my whole life. Picture something professionally, personally, or with your health so you can narrow it down and say, when I think of being on stages, when I think of publishing my book, when I think of clearing my clutter, I get scared. How scared? 0 to 10. Okay. And then tap along with Sophia. Here we go. We take 2 fingers of our dominant hand because that's easiest. And we tap on the side of the other hand, called your karate chop point, or just the side of your hand, and repeat after me. Even though I'm afraid to be clear,
Even though I'm afraid to be clear,
I'm afraid of what could change,
I'm afraid of what could change.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I'm afraid to be clear,
Even though I'm afraid to be clear,
what if they don't like it?
what if they don't like it?
I accept who I am and how I feel.
I accept who I am and how I feel.
Good. And then again, I use 2 fingers of my dominant hand. The first point is called your eyebrow point. It's the beginning of the hair of either eyebrow, not up here. It's an acupuncture point right here. And we just name the problem. We're just repeating the problem and tuning in and opening up that file in our brain. I'm afraid to be clear.
I'm afraid to be clear.
Next point is on the outside of your eye, on a bone either side. I'm afraid to be clear.
I'm afraid to be clear.
Next point is under the eye, also on a bone. I'm afraid to be clear. What if they don't like it?
I'm afraid to be clear. What if they don't like it?
Under the nose. I'm afraid to be clear.
I'm afraid to be clear.
Next point is in the chin crease right here. I'm afraid to be clear.
I'm afraid to be clear.
The next point is called your collarbone point, and it's under one of these funny 2 little knobs, and you can put your whole hand out like that or just tap on one of them, whichever is more comfortable for you. I'm afraid to be clear because I'm afraid of their reaction.
I'm afraid to be clear because I'm afraid of their reaction.
The next point is under either armpit, about 4 inches below. I'm afraid to be clear because I'm afraid things could change.
I'm afraid to be clear because I'm afraid things could change.
We end on the top of the head. A very important acupuncture point is up there. I'm afraid to be clear because I'm afraid things could change.
I'm afraid to be clear because I'm afraid things could change.
Good. Deep breath. And then we go back in and measure the number. Don't get hung up on the number, but usually people tune into their body and go, I don't feel as scared about clarity, but or something else came up. What was that like for you, Sophia?
It felt nice. I would
Nice.
say the number lowered for me for sure.
Good, good, good. And did you have a reason like I'm afraid I'll rock the boat, I'm afraid they'll be upset, I'm afraid things could change, or the accountability topic you brought up? Was there a reason for you?
I think I was thinking about speaking, and I'm like, I'm afraid of making little mistakes or being nervous and just wanting more practice. So I guess general nervous little mistakes.
Okay, so let's do it again. And we're still in the topic of I'm afraid to be clear, but we're going to add fear of making a mistake. I
Hmm.
think that's a huge one for people. I certainly know it in my practice or at workshops. So here we go. Even though I'm still afraid to be clear,
Even though I'm still afraid to be clear,
I'm afraid to make a mistake.
I'm afraid to make a mistake.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I'm still afraid to be clear,
Even though I'm still afraid to be clear,
what if I make a mistake?
what if I make a mistake?
I accept who I am and how I feel.
I accept who I am and how I feel.
So, everybody, those first two sentences on the side of the hand, it's that simple. Here's my problem, and I accept myself anyway. It stops the resistance. So, it
Mm.
just calms you down before we even start tapping on the other points. Eyebrow point. What if I make a mistake?
What if I make a mistake?
Side of the eye. I'm afraid I'm not going to be perfect.
I'm afraid I'm not going to be perfect.
Under the eye. I'm afraid to be clear.
I'm afraid to be clear.
Under the nose. I'm afraid I'll make a mistake.
I'm afraid I'll make a mistake.
Chin point. No wonder I'm getting in my own way.
No wonder I'm getting in my own way.
Collarbone point. I'm afraid to be clear.
I'm afraid to be clear.
Under the arm. What if I make a mistake?
What if I make a mistake?
Top of the head. So what if I make a mistake?
So what if I make a mistake?
Mhm. Good. Then we take another breath. And there's no right or wrong. We're just trying to track what the number is and where you are on the fear scale.
Hmm.
It changes. So what was that like for you the second round? We tweaked the words a little.
Yeah, very nice. I think that a fear of making mistake is even more clear and on point for me, so very effective. And I also just meant to share, so I'll say it now, I love so much that a huge part of EFT is this self-acceptance word and statement of I totally and completely love and accept myself, or I completely love and accept myself. And when I read your first book and learned that that was like the key phrase, because before that, I had seen it on Instagram where people are like doing tapping, but I'm like, no, she's legit. You're the practitioner, you know the original way. And that is such a powerful phrase because, like you said, you're loving yourself, acceptance, and then you have space to clear in a safe place these negative blocks.
Absolutely. And think about that with your movement about love,
Yeah,
right? If you're not
perfect.
loving yourself, but you're loving everybody else, something's going to go wrong on the path,
Yeah,
right? Something's going to happen. So this is a beautiful way just to say, you know what? I'm doing the best I can. Yes, I have this problem, and I accept and love myself anyway.
yes.
Love saying that. So now you're saying, so this is what happens in the process. You're saying, you know what? Fear of making a mistake is actually a bigger challenge for me than fear of being clear,
Mm.
right? So then we tailor the words to that. And you can do it again and say, even though the truth is, I'm afraid to make a mistake.
Even though the truth is, I'm afraid to make a mistake.
I remember an old mistake I made,
I remember an old mistake I made,
and it hurt me.
and it hurt me.
I accept who I am and how I feel.
I accept who I am and how I feel.
Even though I'm afraid of making another big mistake,
Even though I'm afraid of making another big mistake.
I remember what happened last time.
I remember what happened last time.
I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself.
I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself.
Eyebrow, I'm afraid of making a mistake.
I'm afraid of making a mistake,
And that blocks my clarity.
and that blocks my clarity.
Under the eye, I'm afraid of making a mistake.
I'm afraid of making a mistake,
Under the nose, and that blocks me from moving forward.
and that blocks me from moving forward.
Chin point. I'm afraid of making a mistake.
I'm afraid of making a mistake,
Collarbone, but I think I'm getting over it.
but I think I'm getting over it.
Underarm, and I'm grateful for all that I've learned.
And I'm so grateful for all that I've learned.
That I'm grateful for everything I've learned about this topic.
I am grateful for everything that I've learned about this topic.
Good. We take a
Yeah,
breath.
definitely.
Right? How'd that feel?
That felt so great. You are so laser focused and great with the words. I love it. Thank you.
Good, good. So everybody can tailor it to themselves, see what feels right, but choose a feeling or a belief to do your tapping on. A lot of people are just tapping, and as you say, they're learning it on Instagram. They're not learning tapping, they're learning something else.
Yeah.
Just be as
Well,
clear as you can.
it's so impactful what you just shared. I know that everyone who listens will love that so much, and I'm sure it will also resonate with them because we're talking about mistakes and clarity and releasing those blocks. So thank you so much for guiding us through that. That was so valuable and impactful, and I can't wait to hear from people who experience transformations just as a result of this. And kind of on that same topic of you're using tapping as your primary tool. I do it morning and night. I'd love to hear, I kind of have it stack it with my skincare routines, which I love. Um, when do you tap, and is this the primary way that you receive clarity? And then we could wrap up talking about like other ways that you receive clarity, because I just love to remind people there's so many ways to receive clarity and share those other modalities.
Good. So, yes, tapping is the primary way that I receive clarity. I do 10 to 15 minutes a day. This little watch means I haven't done it yet. If this is on my wrist, it means I have not done my tapping. So it could be 10 o'clock at night. And if this darn watch is here, it means I haven't done my timing yet. And I do it anytime I can. So I just try to do 5 minutes, or I do 15 all at once.
Mhm.
And I make sure I focus on the stress or the problem that I'm working on before I do the gratitude or the positive tapping. A lot of people jump into the positive. It's like it has no place to land. We haven't dealt with our stressors or our issues yet. So be focused, be clear, right? And this calms down all the distractions, all the noise, all the I hate myself, all the I'm not good enough, all those feelings and thoughts and beliefs that we have that get in our way of moving forward and really be stepping into our power.
Definitely. I love that. So you primarily use this to remove the blocks, and do you find that clarity comes in as you're tapping verbally for you, and then later as well, like thoughts and downloads, or right in the moment? I just love to hear about that.
Yes, it happens while I'm tapping, because let's say you're an eight of a fear and you're tapping, the eight's going down.
Hmm.
And as you get to a six or a five, another thought comes. You get really smart when you tap. You get your own brain back online. So it
Hmm.
happens as I'm doing it, and then I'm changing the wording, saying, well, that's not true anymore. And then I go on to the next issue or the next issue, or I put in the gratitude at the end of it and say, I'm really grateful for everything I've learned. Then I do get downloads later all the time. But, I would say when I did tapping in the very beginning, people say, well, what happened? How'd you know it was going to be a good tool for you? Two things cleared. One, I cleared my long term insomnia. You want to change your life? Clear your long term insomnia. Two, my ESP, intuition, whatever you want to call it, came back online because my anxiety had lowered so much. So it was like, this is why this is going to be a tool for me. The clarity was amazing. Information came to me, all that's extra sensory stuff that we get that we ignore or
Hmm.
that's crowded out by a lot of noise. Start People at workshops were saying, you do know you're getting information, you do know you're channeling, all this stuff is happening. It's available to all of us, but we just crowd it out.
Mm. I love that. That's so powerful. Thank you. That kind of makes me think of one final question, just following off what you said. Do you ever find if you, I mean, you have such a good habit and a good practice. For example, I'm tapping every day now, I'm writing every day, but have you come into a block where you're just like maybe possibly not feeling passionate or lit up by tapping? And do you just go through it and do it anyways and wait for the passion to return and that intuition and being ignited by it to return? Or do you focus on the gratitude and that brings it back, or any insight on that sort of thing, because I know people have tools. Sometimes maybe it goes through seasons of effectiveness or like impassioned, love of the thing.
I love tapping because I do it every day with my clients as well as with myself.
Mhm.
I don't lose passion, but I lose, I don't really have anything big to tap on today. And my thing is I have to do it anyway.
Hmm.
This is non-negotiable. Same with my meditation. It's non-negotiable. I don't get to do it when I feel like doing it. So I do it every day, no matter what. And if it's a little dull in the beginning or a little bit not so focused, like it's okay, because I know I've got my timer on and I need to do my 15 minutes of tapping because it's going to stretch me and change me and help me, support me step into the most powerful version of me, which means it's a catalyst because that means I can help more people.
Yes, that's so lovely. Like you said, powerful version of yourself, and you're devoted to it. So I just want to reiterate and share with people what I'm hearing from you is, even if maybe you're doing something such as tapping, such as writing, there may be a day where you're not feeling that you're vibing with it so much, but you're still consistent. You show up for yourself. It becomes a self-love practice at that time. And science shows that, self-confidence is really built by showing up for those tasks and making and keeping promises to yourself. So I love the example that you share with us, Carol, and the leader and thought leader that you are, and the wonderful tapping and coaching that you're doing out in the world. So thank you so much for your generosity and the model and the great example that you are in being this consistent person, and you're living the example, you're practicing what you're preaching, and it's such a powerful tool.
Thank you, Sophia. Wonderful being with you.
Yeah, thank you so much.